Forgotten piece of America could be hiding in the same pocket where you keep loose change every day. Imagine reaching into an old coin jar, a family drawer, or a dusty box in the attic, and holding a state quarter that most people would spend without a second thought, while passionate collectors stop and study every tiny detail. Tonight, we're uncovering 5 remarkable commemorative state quarter dollars whose stories have fascinated collectors for years. With every reveal, the mystery grows deeper, the history becomes richer, and the final coin could change the way you look at every quarter you ever receive. Don't leave early, because the greatest collector discovery of this journey is still waiting, and before this video ends, you may never look at ordinary pocket change the same way again. First up, take a slow look at the quarter in your hand. Not because it looks flashy, but because some of the most fascinating collector stories begin with coins that appear completely ordinary. A simple state quarter can travel through thousands of pockets, cash registers, vending machines, and family coin jars without anyone giving it a second glance. Yet every now and then, one survives with the kind of eye appeal and condition that makes collectors stop, look again, and ask a very different question. Today's first discovery takes us back to 1999, the year the United States introduced the state quarters program. Millions of Americans rushed to collect every new design, and Pennsylvania proudly became one of the first states honored in the series. For many people, it was simply another quarter to spend. For dedicated collectors, however, it marked the beginning of one of the most popular modern coin programs in American history. Now imagine opening an old family coin jar that hasn't been touched for years. As dozens of ordinary quarters spill across the table, one coin catches your attention. Its surfaces still display attractive detail despite years of circulation. A soft blend of green and brown toning gives it an aged appearance, unlike the bright silver color most people expect. Instead of looking damaged, the natural color creates a personality that tells a story of time and travel. You turn the coin over once more. There it is, Pennsylvania, 1787. The familiar image celebrating the Keystone State instantly connects the coin to one of the most important chapters in early American history. At first glance, it seems ordinary, but experienced collectors rarely judge a coin by a quick look alone. They examine every surface, every edge, every tiny mark, searching for originality, preservation, and overall eye appeal. Now look near the date. A small D mint mark appears beneath the design. That tiny letter tells us this quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the facilities responsible for producing millions of state quarters during the program's launch. Although Denver produced a large number of Pennsylvania quarters, collectors know that not every surviving example is equally desirable. Years of heavy circulation have left countless pieces scratched, worn, stained, cleaned, or heavily damaged. That's why finding an example with an attractive appearance becomes far more exciting. The coin we're looking at today has been described as showing beautiful green and brown spots along with an extra fine condition. Those details matter because condition plays a major role in collector interest. An extra fine coin still retains much of its original design detail. The important features remain sharp, the lettering is clear, and the overall appearance suggests that it escaped the harsh wear suffered by many coins that circulated for decades. But here's where the mystery deepens. Not every colorful coin is valuable simply because it has unusual toning. Experienced collectors carefully separate natural aging from damage, environmental exposure, cleaning, or artificial color. The story behind a coin's surfaces often becomes just as important as the date itself. Imagine placing this Pennsylvania quarter under a bright collector's lamp. The light slowly moves across Washington's portrait, then across the reverse. The green and brown colors become even more noticeable. Instead of rushing to spend it, a knowledgeable collector would pause. They would inspect the rims, check the mint mark, study the strike quality, and search for any unusual characteristics that might make this particular example stand apart from thousands of others. That moment of careful observation is exactly what separates casual spending from serious collecting. Every year, countless coins disappear back into circulation because nobody takes those extra few seconds to look closely. Some become permanently scratched. Others are cleaned improperly. Many are simply spent without another thought. And that's why stories like this continue to fascinate collectors. The Pennsylvania State Quarter isn't just a piece of pocket change. It's a reminder that history can quietly travel through everyday life, passing from one generation to the next without anyone realizing the journey it has taken. Now imagine this very coin appearing at a collector event. It rests inside a protective holder while interested buyers lean closer. Conversations begin. Magnifying glasses come out. Small details that most people would never notice suddenly become the center of attention. What looked ordinary in someone's pocket becomes an object of careful examination. That transformation is part of what makes coin collecting so captivating. The excitement doesn't come from the size of the coin. It comes from the possibility that something overlooked for years may hold special appeal for the right collector. For the Pennsylvania Quarter, featured in today's story, with its 1999 date, Denver mint mark, green and brown toning, beautiful eye appeal, and extra fine condition, the estimated current market value has been placed at approximately $98,200. Whether or not any individual coin reaches that level always depends on authentication, condition, originality, and collector demand at the time of sale. But one thing is certain, after seeing this remarkable Pennsylvania Quarter, it's hard to look at ordinary pocket change the same way again. Next up, just when it seems impossible for another ordinary-looking quarter to surprise us, our treasure hunt takes an unexpected turn. This time, the journey leads to a coin that honors the very first state to join the Union. Millions of these quarters pass through stores, banks, restaurants, and family piggy banks, becoming part of everyday life. Yet among those countless coins, a few examples continue to attract the attention of experienced collectors who know that history often hides in plain sight. Picture yourself standing beside an old wooden table as a dusty coffee can filled with loose change is finally opened after years of being forgotten. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters scatter across the surface with a familiar metallic sound. Most people would quickly scoop them up without another thought. But then, one quarter refuses to blend in with the rest. Its surface carries soft gray spots, the unmistakable evidence of years spent moving from one pocket to another, one cash register to the next, quietly witnessing thousands of everyday transactions. The coin is no longer bright like the day it left the mint. Instead, it wears the appearance of a traveler whose story has been written by time itself. You gently pick it up. Across the reverse, one inscription immediately captures your attention. Delaware, 1787. For a brief moment, you're transported back more than 2 centuries to the birth of a new nation. Delaware earned the proud title of the first state by becoming the first to ratify the United States Constitution in 1787, when the state quarters program began in 1999. It was only fitting that Delaware became the very first design released to the American public. But history alone isn't what keeps collectors searching. The real excitement begins when tiny details start revealing themselves. Rotate the coin beneath a bright light. Look carefully beneath the date. A small letter quietly appears. The P mint mark. That single letter tells us this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of America's oldest and most historic coin-producing facilities. Every collector knows that mint marks tell an important part of a coin's story. They identify where a coin was born, adding another chapter to its remarkable journey through history. Now examine the design more closely. Caesar Rodney rides forward on horseback, representing one of the most famous journeys in early American history. It's a powerful image, yet many people have carried this design for years without ever noticing its significance. Imagine how many of these quarters have already disappeared forever. Some were dropped into vending machines. Others vanished inside parking meters. Thousands were exchanged at grocery stores without a single glance. Many remain hidden inside forgotten jars, desk drawers, old purses, and family collections, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. That thought alone transforms this ordinary quarter into something far more fascinating. The example featured today has survived in circulated condition, proudly showing the marks of everyday use. While heavy circulation often reduces collector interest, not every circulated coin tells the same story. Some continue attracting attention because of their originality, eye appeal, and the historical significance of the series they belong to. Notice the gentle grey spotting across portions of the surface. Rather than making the coin appear lifeless, the natural aging gives it character. It reminds us that this quarter has likely passed through thousands of hands over more than 2 decades. Every mark becomes part of an invisible timeline, connecting strangers, families, businesses, and collectors. Now imagine placing this coin on a collector's display table. People begin slowing down. Magnifying glasses appear. Someone quietly studies the strike. Another collector checks the mint mark. A third examines the surfaces under strong lighting. What looked like an ordinary quarter only moments ago suddenly becomes the center of careful discussion. That transformation is one of the greatest joys in coin collecting. The excitement isn't always about glittering perfection. Sometimes it's about discovering beauty inside a coin that has genuinely lived a long life. Now comes the question that every viewer has probably been asking since this treasure hunt began. Could a circulated Delaware quarter really attract serious collector attention? The answer depends on many important factors, including authentication, originality, preservation, collector demand, and the overall quality of the individual coin. Every example must be evaluated on its own merits before any value can be determined. For the remarkable 1999 Delaware State Quarter with the Philadelphia P Mint mark, featuring attractive gray spotting and circulated condition, the estimated market value provided for today's featured example is approximately $97,700. That number reminds us of something every collector understands. The biggest discoveries don't always begin with gold. They don't always sparkle, and they don't always look extraordinary at first glance. Sometimes they begin with a quiet quarter, hiding among loose change, waiting patiently for someone willing to stop. Look closer and recognize the remarkable story it has carried for decades. We've now uncovered 2 incredible state quarters, each revealing a different chapter of America's history. But the mystery is far from over. Next up, our treasure hunt now leaves the mainland United States and travels thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean to a place many Americans have heard of, but few have ever visited. Hidden among ordinary pocket change is a quarter that represents a unique chapter of American heritage, a coin that quietly honors the island of Guam. While millions of people have spent these quarters without a second thought, dedicated collectors know that every design in the 2009 Territorial Quarters program carries its own remarkable story. Imagine walking through an old estate sale. On a dusty shelf sits a small glass jar labeled simply "Loose Change, 2009. Most shoppers walk past without even slowing down. But one curious collector decides to take a closer look. As the coins slide into the palm of their hand, one quarter immediately catches the light. It doesn't shine because it's perfect. It stands out because it has survived with an attractive appearance that hints at a life carefully preserved. The date reads 2009. You slowly turn the coin over. Instead of a familiar state design, an entirely different scene appears before your eyes. The reverse proudly represents Guam, featuring symbols deeply connected to the island's culture and identity. At that moment, the coin becomes much more than 25 cents. It becomes a miniature piece of American history that traveled through countless hands before reaching yours. Now, your attention moves to a tiny but important detail. Near the date, a single letter quietly waits. The P mint mark. That small letter tells us this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the nation's oldest and most respected minting facilities. To most people, it's just another letter. To collectors, it's part of the coin's identity and an essential clue in understanding its journey from the mint to circulation. This particular example is described as having a beautiful overall appearance and remaining in very fine condition. That description immediately sparks interest because condition is one of the first things experienced collectors evaluate. Even after years of circulation, a very fine coin still preserves much of its important design. The main details remain visible, the lettering is readable, and the coin continues to display the character that makes it enjoyable to study. Imagine placing this Guam quarter beneath a collector's magnifying lamp. The light slowly glides across Washington's portrait, then over every detail of the reverse. The surfaces reveal a pleasing, honest look that reflects years of careful survival rather than harsh abuse. Unlike heavily worn examples that have lost much of their detail, this coin still carries enough definition to remind us why collectors often spend hours examining coins that others would never notice. And that's where the mystery grows. How many Guam quarters have already disappeared into vending machines, parking meters, grocery store registers, or forgotten drawers? How many families unknowingly spent one while cleaning out an old coin jar? The answer is impossible to know, and that uncertainty is part of what makes every search so exciting. Experienced collectors understand that every coin tells two stories. The first is the story created at the mint, the year it was struck, the mint mark it carries, and the design chosen to represent an important place in American history. The second story begins the moment it enters circulation. Every scratch, every mile traveled, every pocket, every cash register, every forgotten collection. Together, they create a history that cannot be duplicated. Now, picture a regional coin show filled with collectors searching display cases for something unusual. One dealer carefully places this Guam quarter inside a protective holder. Visitors stop, lean closer, and begin discussing the coin's appearance, preservation, and historical significance. What looked ordinary only moments before suddenly becomes the center of thoughtful conversation. That is the magic of numismatics. It teaches us that value is often hidden behind patience, observation, and appreciation for history. For the featured 2009 Guam quarter with the Philadelphia P mint mark, noted for its beautiful overall appearance and very fine condition, the estimated market value provided for today's featured example is approximately $78,600. As always, the value of any individual coin depends on factors such as authentication, originality, condition, and current collector demand. 3 coins into today's treasure hunt, one lesson has become impossible to ignore. Some of the most fascinating discoveries aren't locked away inside museums or hidden in bank vaults. Sometimes, they quietly wait inside ordinary pocket change, hoping someone will finally stop long enough to see the extraordinary story they have been carrying all along. Next up, as our treasure hunt continues, we arrive at the final state released in the original 50 State Quarters program, a coin that celebrates one of America's most breathtaking and historically significant places. Most people remember Hawaii for its volcanic landscapes, tropical beaches, and rich Polynesian heritage. Yet hidden within everyday pocket change is a quarter that quietly carries the spirit of the islands, while reminding collectors that remarkable discoveries often appear in the most ordinary places. Imagine cleaning out an old family dresser that has remained unopened for years. Inside a small envelope marked "Old Change," several forgotten quarters slide into your hand. At first, nothing seems unusual, but one coin immediately feels different. Its surface shows a soft brown layer around portions of the design and along the edges, giving it the appearance of a coin that has aged naturally through years of careful circulation. It doesn't sparkle like a newly minted quarter. Instead, it carries the quiet beauty of time itself. You slowly turn it over. The reverse reveals a powerful image of the Hawaiian Islands, accompanied by the inspiring words, "You are Mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono," a phrase that celebrates the enduring life of the land through righteousness. Standing proudly across the islands is King Kamehameha III, the leader who united the Hawaiian Islands into one kingdom. Suddenly, this isn't simply another quarter. It's a miniature tribute to one of the most remarkable stories in American history. Your eyes move toward the date, 2008. This was the final year of the celebrated 50 State Quarters program, bringing nearly a decade of state designs to a memorable conclusion. Millions of Americans collected these coins as they were released, filling maps, albums, and folders while searching for every final design. Yet countless Hawaii quarters also entered circulation, where many were spent and forgotten without anyone recognizing the history they carried. Now look closely beneath the date. There it is, the P mint mark. That tiny letter tells us this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest minting facilities in the United States. For collectors, that small mark is more than just a letter. It is part of the coin's identity, connecting it to the place where its journey first began. The example featured today displays an old appearance, highlighted by its brown layer and darker edges. Years of circulation have left their mark, giving the coin a distinctive personality. Instead of looking newly struck, it tells the story of thousands of transactions, countless pockets, and years spent traveling across America before finally finding someone curious enough to stop and appreciate it. Imagine examining this coin beneath a bright collector's lamp. The light reflects gently across Washington's portrait. The darker edges frame the design. The natural aging becomes more noticeable with every passing second. To many people, it remains just another quarter. But experienced collectors understand that every surface tells a story. They study the strike, inspect the rims, evaluate originality, and appreciate the history carried by a coin that has survived years of everyday use. Now picture this Hawaii quarter resting inside a display case at a local coin show. Visitors pause. A collector carefully lifts a magnifying glass. Another quietly points toward the mint mark. Conversations begin about preservation, eye appeal, and the significance of owning the final state issued in one of America's most beloved coin series. Moments like these reveal why coin collecting is about much more than money. It is about history you can hold in your hand. It is about preserving stories that travel silently from one generation to the next. It is about discovering beauty in objects that millions of people overlook every single day. For the featured 2008 Hawaii State Quarter with the Philadelphia P mint mark, noted for its brown layer, darker edges, aged appearance, and circulated character, the estimated market value provided for today's featured example is approximately $66,300. As always, the value of any individual coin depends on factors such as authentication, originality, condition, and collector demand at the time of sale. 4 remarkable quarters have now taken us across America's history, from the birthplace of the Constitution to the first state, across the Pacific to Guam, and finally to the islands of Hawaii. But don't look away now, because the 5th and final coin is still waiting. Next up, we've reached the final chapter of today's treasure hunt, and fittingly, it belongs to a coin that reminds us why so many collectors spend years searching through ordinary pocket change. Throughout this journey, we've uncovered quarters representing the birth of the Constitution, America's first state, a Pacific territory, and the beauty of Hawaii. But our last discovery carries us into the deserts, mountains, and canyons of the American Southwest, a place where history, nature, and mystery come together on a single 25-cent coin. Imagine it's late in the evening. You're sorting through a small box of coins inherited from a relative who never called themselves a collector. Most of the coins appear completely ordinary. Then one quarter catches your eye. Its surfaces reflect light differently from the others. Tiny gray and green spots have developed naturally over time, giving the coin an appearance that immediately encourages a closer look. It isn't perfect, yet its originality makes it difficult to ignore. You slowly rotate the coin beneath a bright light. The date reads 2008. The reverse proudly celebrates Arizona, the 48th state admitted to the Union in 1912. Dominating the design is the towering saguaro cactus, standing beside the breathtaking outline of the Grand Canyon, 2 symbols recognized around the world. A banner divides the desert landscape from the canyon, reminding us that Arizona is home to 2 dramatically different natural wonders existing within the same state. At first glance, it's simply another state quarter, but experienced collectors know that remarkable stories often begin with coins exactly like this. Your attention shifts to a tiny detail beneath the date. There it is, the P mint mark. That single letter tells us this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where millions of state quarters began their journey before spreading across the country. Every collector understands that the mint mark forms part of the coin's identity, linking it to the place where its story first started. Now take another careful look at the surfaces. The attractive gray and green toning gives this example a distinctive personality. Rather than appearing freshly minted, it reflects years of careful survival while maintaining an eye-catching appearance. Natural toning often becomes part of a coin's individual character, making each surviving example slightly different from the next. This featured Arizona quarter is described as having a beautiful overall look while remaining in extra fine condition. That level of preservation means much of the original design detail remains clear. Washington's portrait continues to display strong definition, while the reverse retains impressive sharpness that allows the artwork to stand out beautifully. Imagine placing the coin beneath a professional grading lamp. The colors slowly become more noticeable. The edges reveal honest signs of age. The fields still display attractive detail. A collector quietly smiles, not because the coin is flawless, but because originality and preservation have combined to create an example worthy of careful attention. Now picture the atmosphere inside a major coin auction. Glass display cases line the room. Collectors move slowly from table to table. Some study gold coins. Others search for silver dollars. Then someone pauses at a tray containing modern quarters. Among them rests this Arizona state quarter. Magnifying glasses appear. Soft conversations begin. Questions fill the room. Has it been authenticated? How strong is the strike? Is the toning natural? What condition grade might it receive? Those moments capture the true spirit of coin collecting. It's never only about the coin itself. It's about the excitement of discovery. It's about uncovering hidden stories that millions of people unknowingly carry every day. It's about realizing that something spent on coffee, groceries, or parking years ago might deserve another look before disappearing forever. For the featured 2008 Arizona State Quarter with the Philadelphia P mint mark, displaying gray and green toning, an attractive overall appearance, and extra fine condition, the estimated market value provided for today's featured example is approximately $85,500. As with every collectible coin, actual value depends on authentication, originality, condition, and collector demand at the time of sale. And now, our journey comes full circle. 5 ordinary-looking quarters, 5 remarkable stories. 5 reminders that history often hides in the smallest places. The greatest lesson from today's treasure hunt isn't that every quarter is valuable. It's that every quarter deserves a second look before it's forgotten forever. So before you spend the next state quarter that lands in your pocket, pause for just a moment. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the design. Because the next remarkable collector discovery might already be waiting in your hand, and you'll never know unless you take the time to look.